Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Race number 10 at Churchill Downs on Kentucky Derby Saturday should be an out-and-out war. It's the Grade 1 $750,000 Churchill Downs Stakes. We're going 7/8 of a mile. Some of the better sprinters in the country in this race, including the very talented Jackie's Warrior. Let's take a look at this field. Jackie's Warrior was the beaten favorite in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He exited that race with an injury, but he did come back and splashed his way home to win at Oaklawn. What did you make of that race, Mike? A lot of people thought it was going to be showtime for Jackie's Warrior, and he kind of squeaked it out.
I liked his return quite a bit, actually. I thought he ran really well in there. The other thing about this race, Dan, and listen, you're right, there are several top sprinters in this race. As far as I could tell, maybe only one speed.
And that is Jackie's Warrior. And Timeform US agrees with that assessment. As we throw up the pace projector, they have Jackie's Warrior loose in a blue bar scenario, favoring horses on or near the early lead. And the prospect of a wet track doesn't faze him in the slightest. He has won his last two starts on off going. He is the horse to beat, but there are some very talented runners in this race, including the number 1 Aloha West, who won the Breeders' Cup Sprint last time out over Jackie's Warrior. Jose Ortiz takes the mount for the Catman, Wayne Catalano. 7-2 on the morning line for Aloha West. This pace scenario probably doesn't favor Aloha West, and he's going to have to catch Jackie's Warrior off a layoff. But let's watch his resolute rally at Del Mar to conclude his 4-year-old campaign, and he just got up.
He did. He worked out the right trip in this race, Dan, but he also came with a really big finish because he had some work to do here through the final furlong, but he is going to close this race down. Kept getting better with every start last year. It all culminated with this. You know, listen, you could argue going back and watching that race that he didn't run the best race there, that the runner-up, Dr. Scheibel, did. But that wouldn't be giving Aloha West enough credit. This horse got good last year, and that was a good performance.
Long-range Toddy's banked over $1 million in his career, and that's not bad considering he hasn't won a race since the 2019 Rebel, but it was good to see some signs of life from long-range Toddy last time out, going 7 furlongs in the Commonwealth, and it happened over a wet track. Now, he was no match for Prevalence that day, but it was good to see some tactical speed out of long-range Toddy, a horse that's been more of a stalker for most of his career.
Right. I mean, listen, give him all the credit he deserves for finishing second in a Grade 3 last time. He got a perfect trip in that race against a weaker field than this one, and he never made a real race of it, and he just held on for second.
Jackie's Warrior made his long-anticipated 4-year-old debut in the Count Fleet Sprint at Oaklawn last time out. He caught a wet track going 3/4 of a mile, and we're going to watch that race right now. And Jackie's Warrior went to the front. He took a little bit of pressure, and he is cruising, turning into the stretch right now. And for a brief instant, you're thinking that Jackie's Warrior is going to put on a show. But the horse that's going to make it close at the wire, he's a pretty solid horse in his own right, and they're getting to Jackie's Warrior, but he has every reason to be tired. A testing track in his first off the layoff.
Right, and he did take some pressure early. They didn't just let him, you know, walk on the lead in here. I know that the horse that went with him early was a bigger long shot, but that horse did not let Jackie's Warrior control the pace off the layoff. You know, we've talked about this a couple of times before, Dan. I feel like the more you watch the Steve Asmussen operation work, when these horses come back off of layoffs, he does not have them cranked up. And I don't think Jackie's Warrior was cranked up there. You could even see Rosario through the stretch, Dan. He was trying not to use this horse at all. He was just sitting still until about the 16th pole. Then he realized, I'm going to have to ask him a little bit here because they're gaining on me. Jackie's Warrior did what he had to do to hold on. He's going to run better in this race. And if he shows his big speed, they're going to have a tough time catching him.
I like that trainer Lynn Cash likes to run his horses. The 4 Sir Alfred James is going to be making his 9th start of 2022. They ran him on turf at Laurel the other day. If you have a condition book, Lynn Cash is going to find a spot for Sir Alfred James. He claimed the source for 62.5. He's done a good job with them. This is a very difficult spot.
Yeah, he just happened. Listen, it's a Grade 1 race. It's supposed to be really tough. There's a lot of money on the line, and they're going to take a shot at it here. This horse is a little underrated. He's run some really good races. I don't know if he can beat this field.
The 5 Reinvestment Risk has run some fast races recently, and they came off long layoffs. Perhaps the Chad Brown trainee is finding his stride as a 4-year-old. He won his first start of the year with a 103 buyer speed figure, and then he came back in the Carter, and he caught one of the hottest horses in the country in Speaker's Corner. And Reinvestment Risk took the race to him early. He just no match when Speaker's Corner made his run. He was very game to hold second. He ran a 104 buyer speed figure, and I like this attack post position for Reinvestment Risk, Mike. I think he's going to try to be sitting just off Jackie's Warrior if he can keep up.
Yeah, I do too. I thought this was a good performance. I mean, he's just no match for Speaker's Corner in this race, but he's a good second in this race. I also liked his return from the layoff. Unfortunately for Reinvestment Risk, he didn't get to run as a 3-year-old. One start, and then it was to the sidelines for a long time. So obviously something went wrong. We'll see if he's closed the gap at all on Jackie's Warrior. Dan, this horse was a really good 2-year-old, and he could not go with Jackie's Warrior. Maybe it's closer now.
Another lightly raced 4-year-old coming into his own is the number 6 Prevalence. He's won his last 2 starts, including the Grade 3 Commonwealth. He beat Long Range Toddy over a sloppy track. He got a perfect step. Let's watch this race. He got right up close to the pace. He turns into the stretch with the lead, and for a second you're thinking, well, somebody's going to come get Prevalence, and no, he was just too good. He wins in workmanlike fashion with a solid buyer speed figure. I like his running style. I think he has some upside. I just think he catches a really strong group.
Yeah, me too. I'm interested to see how he runs, though, Dan, because it does feel like he's finally putting everything together. This is, he's just doing what he has to do to win this race, but he's much the best there at the end of the day. Felt like he was cut out to be a really nice horse at the start, and now he's finally starting to deliver. They're going to jump him up here. He's going to have to improve. I'm not so sure he can't do it.
You can never sleep on the 7 Mind Control, a multiple Grade 1 winner trained by Todd Pletcher. He ran 3rd in the Carter that we showed you behind Reinvestment Risk, but I think he gained a ton of fitness from that race because he battled with Reinvestment Risk early, and then he got tired in his first race since September. We know he's a very talented horse. This distance is well within his scope. Do you think he's a shipper, though? I mean, I know he won at Park, so he's done his best running in New York.
Yeah, as we'll see. I'm not going to worry about them shipping him to Churchill Downs. I think he's, supposed to handle it. I'm just not sure that I think he's good enough to win a race like this, Dan. Listen, his Carter was off the layup. Maybe he needed it. He did not run great in that race. I know he got a big figure at Parks 2 back. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying the number, and I don't think he ran the best race that day, that he got lucky to win. His other races prior to that, they're fine, but I don't think they beat this field.
We usually like cutbacks at 7 furlongs, and the number 8 Cezanne will turn back a furlong after just getting beat in the Oaklawn Mile. Let's watch that effort last time out. It was the odds-on favorite, and all in all, it was a pretty good trip, a 3-wide tracking trip. He made the lead turning into the stretch, but he's immediately set upon by Folsom, who's a pretty talented horse. Cezanne digs in tenaciously. He only gets beaten neck. I personally like him at one-turn races like this 7 furlongs.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a better distance for him. He ran fine here going the 2-turn mile, and he's won around 2 turns in the past. But I do think sprinting is what this horse really wants to do. He's run some really fast races. Does he have enough speed to keep up early, Dan? That was the question for me.
That is the huge question. He has shown some speed in the past, but he's not your typical Southern California blazer, isn't he? He usually likes some hitting in front of him, and maybe that could work against him if that Timeform US pace projector is correct. Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Access to all of DRFTV's video offerings. Jackie's Warrior, way the horse to beat in here. I'm going to take a little bit of a swing. I've always been a fan of Cezanne, Mike. I like him cutting back in distance. This is a horse, another one. He's got a lot of talent, but it takes him a while to get to the races. He's only run 7 times. I like that he's run regularly this year. I think he has a nice attack outside post. Jackie's Warrior are going to be tough to catch.
I think so too. Listen, I think there are several other ways to go in here. I wouldn't really argue too hard with anybody who wants to try to beat Jackie's Warrior. Personally, I liked his return. I thought he showed a lot there. And it just makes me feel like maybe he's back in form now after that Breeders' Cup where I don't know what happened. I think he ran pretty well last time. I'm going to take him on top.
And imagine if he puts on a show here and we get to see Jackie's Warrior versus Flightline versus Speaker's Corner down the road. That would certainly be a show. 3158 for Mike, 8351 for me. It's the Churchill Downs, 7/8 of a mile on Derby Saturday. Good luck.